Hello and welcome to Celebrating You, and I am so excited to bring to you the most dynamic duo, husband and wife couple of journalists called Michelle and Christian Ewan. Such a warm welcome to you.
Thank you very much.
Maria. Thank you for hosting us. We're delighted to be here.
Thank you so much indeed.
Well, it's my absolute pleasure, like you have no idea. And I would love to get your story on how come you came to be doing what you're doing today. Tell me what you do and how come. Tell me all the backstory.
Okay. Would you like to kick off?
Shall I?
Yeah.
Shall I go for it?
You go ahead, and I will embellish and remind you of any key milestones or anything. No, it's all good. You want to kick off?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
So, yes, I'm Michelle Ewen, and I studied journalism at university. Got my first job as a journalist when I was about 20 years old, writing true life stories for the national press. So basically, I saw an advert on the Cork notice board outside my professor's office at university, and it was from a press agency down south, and they were looking for a brand new feature writer. So being quite bold, I put myself forward, took myself and my housemate on a little car journey all the way down to Stratford-upon-Avon, applied for the job and got the job. And I was working as a journalist while I finished my third year of my degree, which was amazing. I was writing for the top national newspapers, all the magazines that you see in your doctor's surgery and that your mum reads, you take a break and your bellas and your chats. And I was writing about love raps and all kinds of scandalous stories and murder and mayhem. So I cut my teeth right on the front line of journalism, writing right at the very top for the top national titles. But I was homesick. I am a proud northerner, and I miss my family and friends back home up north. So I left to return back to my hometown, and I started working for a news group there. And on a kind of a little bit of a tangent, I came to meet Christian. So Christian at the time was a trainee commercial features reporter, and we ended up sharing a news desk, didn't we, Chris?
We did indeed, yeah. So I, very similar to Michelle, I got a degree in journalism too, studied at a different university. I'm a few years younger than Michelle.
Just a few.
Although Michelle looks a lot younger than I do. She's aged a lot better. And I was in my final year of university. I got a placement on the newspaper that Michelle went on to join, and it went great. They told me, get your degree, you've got a job, which was lovely because it took a lot of pressure off. All I had to do was get the degree in the bag, and then I knew that I would have my first ever profession. You know, that was my start in the industry. So I was 21. You know, all set to go, really happy. So got the degree and got into commercial features reporting. So that is pretty much businesses contacting the newspaper that were taking out adverts in the publication, and then we interview the boss or the founder of that company and write about them and make them sound as good as possible. That's what commercial features reporting was geared around.
Finding the story in that business, finding what's going to be of interest to the reader, and also help that business owner connect with potential customers on a real heart and values basis. So finding the truth that lies within their business story.
So there's a combination of that, and then also as well, you know, them wanting to put their products out there as almost like a shop window. We use that analogy a lot with newspapers. It's a shop window for potential customers to come by and then pique their interest, and then they go on to become customers. So I was doing that and met Michelle. And do you want to pick up again? Yeah.
So one of our jobs was to produce a magazine.
Yep.
It was called Limited Edition.
It was, yeah.
And it was kind of like an exclusive publication, a lifestyle publication that featured what it's like to live in Cheshire. And part of the
very exclusive part, Cheshire.
Yeah, quite like the kind of like the Cheshire Belt where all the footballers live and things like that. Yeah. And we had the task of going out to a different village in Cheshire, interviewing the local people, finding out what local life was like in each of those villages, meeting some of the key community members and some of the local businesses that
your
were
celebrity.
Yeah, these celebrities as well.
Yeah.
But we kind of like went to a different village each month, and each time we went to a different village, we were kind of in the background falling in love with each other.
Very much.
We were having all these like amazing cohesive experiences of getting to know each other through this really unique adventure of getting to know our county better as well.
We would get projects, for instance, to go to restaurants as well that were featured in the magazine. So we would then ask the other, if you were so busy, would you like to maybe come along and we can review it together, the restaurant. So we were spending time then eating together, which is always a great thing. Something that we found out we like to enjoy good food and
still true to this day.
Good food and fine wine with each other. So it basically became a journey where we continued to deliver all the work, all the commitments we had, but it was also finding ways where we could spend time with each other. It definitely became something that transcended the work life, the professional life, into something a lot deeper than that. And we fell in love. So we were friends for 2 years, purely platonic, wasn't it? It was about 2 years,
about 2.5 years.
Yeah, working in the news desk.
And then we fell in love, like Lois and Clark. We were like Lois and Clark of our newsroom. And then
word got around, they were all delighted for us.
Yeah, we thought we had this secret relationship and everybody knew, basically.
Everybody knew. Well, the reporters, aren't they? So they did some investigating,
We went to our editor and we feel like we've got to be honest with you, we've fallen in love with each other.
Just want you to know there's not no impact on, professional
work,
nothing like that.
And they were like, everybody knows.
Everybody knows.
Everybody's cool with it, don't worry.
Yeah.
So we had that relationship and we were doing this job that we loved. And then at that age, you get a little bit, kind of like, maybe the grass is greener, maybe there's other opportunities out there for us. So we woke up one morning and had the united decision to hand in our notice at work. And on the same day, we handed in our notice with our landlord. And predictably, our families went berserk. They were like, what on earth are you doing? You've got job security. Why would you do this? It's really...
You've gone to university to study so hard to do this.
They were really, really kind of like, couldn't wrap their head around it. And looking back, it was the first time when we kind of realised that we're square pegs in round holes. We don't conform. We kind of live life on our own terms. And while some of our decisions might feel uncomfortable to other people, they feel very natural to us. And we always prioritise our own happiness over society's should. We were like, we're going to write our own story. We're going to define what we want out of life. So that kind of like precluded a bit of a nomadic period for us. We lived in a few different homes, we had a few different jobs, and then ultimately Christian ended up in the corporate world with a FTSE 100 index company, and I ended up in the NHS. And
that was in PR. Both of us in PR.
So we crossed the fence. So we went from being journalists to people who helped businesses get into the press from that perspective. And we did that really successfully, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
Chris was like the record
at the time.
At the time.
The youngest press officer in the history of the company at the time. I was 20, I just turned 25. So it was a big experience. I learned a lot. I was there for about 4 years. With it obviously being a FTSE 100 company, you're learning things about shareholder satisfaction. Very high profile company, so a lot of TV, radio related work in there, writing scripts for executives and press releases, and
we had like
promoting
Sky TV in our house, didn't we?
Yeah, promoting corporate social responsibility, doing on-call work, which was a new experience. So as Michelle mentioned, it wouldn't be uncommon for my phone to go off when I was on call, telling us that there'd been a flood somewhere or there'd been a power cut, and Sky ringing up to find out what was going on. That became part of it, and I enjoyed it for a while, but then the time came when I felt again it was time to do something new. I'd been in the corporate world for a while, and I felt that the time had come to embrace a new challenge. But during that time, you were also working in PR.
I was, yeah. So I'd also crossed the fence.
You had this sort of like alignments of careers going on. So
and Chris was really inspiring to me because like he kind of walked this road a little few steps before me.
Yeah, I got into PR a little bit earlier than you, but you got into journalism a little bit earlier than me, so it kind of balanced itself out, didn't it?
So Chris was really my inspiration and my mentor through that period, because like he taught me some of the techniques that I still practice to this day. And when I was looking at the kind of coverage he was able to store for his company, that was something I really aspired to in my role. So I worked at a mental health hospital, and we served a very large population in the northwest, caring for people with acute mental health difficulties. And a lot of my role was helping patients to tell their story of what it's like to experience mental ill health. So these will be patients with really challenging conditions like schizophrenia and psychosis, and people who would very often experience stigma in society and felt very misunderstood. What we did was try to redress that balance by showing the lived experience of these conditions. So forget your kind of Hitchcock films and all your lurid tabloid headlines. This is what it is actually like to be a person who has a diagnosis like obsessive compulsive disorder or psychosis or personality disorder. And we kind of helped these people to tell their stories. So they were creating their own narrative. They weren't letting other people write their narrative for them.
Which is what they had become accustomed to, hadn't it?
And that was really, really a beautiful, beautiful role for me to be involved in, and still to this day, it's like makes me emotional even thinking about it, because there was people I met there who'd been misunderstood their entire life by friends, families, employers. And we were saying, actually, you can live a good life with mental health. You can find purpose. You can experience pleasure. You can have relationships. You can live well with these challenging conditions. And we did a campaign called Stamp Out Stigma. And we got Stephen Fry on board.
Ruby Wax
lots of quite senior people. And we created a petition, and we asked people to sign to say, I pledge not to use stigmatizing words to describe people with mental ill health. We got over 100,000 signatures on that. And it was a really award-winning campaign, and it was just so, so powerful to be involved in that. And it kind of, for me, I've never even really spoke about this before, but it kind of me readdressed that balance, because the very beginning of my career was all about sensationalism. It was about tabloid style headlines. It was quite things that were kind of eye-catching and clickbaiting and things like that. And I didn't always feel good about that. There were times when I thought, because people were sometimes being paid for those stories, if the money incentive hadn't have been there, would they still have chose to tell them? And it was my first experience of journalism, and I'm grateful for it, because it taught me the art form of storytelling. But the hospital experience was so, so more rewarding, because it was a chance to use my skill set for good. It was a chance to really do some social consciousness work that kind of readdressed the balance for people who were very in a vulnerable position and very misunderstood. So
and that was much more in alignment with you as a person, your heart and your...
For my values.
Definitely. Yeah.
So that was an amazing experience. And then we kind of came full circle. Chris worked as a publisher for a few years.
Yeah, that was 5 years. So after I left the PR world, I then moved into the world of publishing, which was an amazing experience. I was there for 5 years working, preparing manuscripts, books for publication prior to them hitting the shelves in the shops. So it was my job to project manage authors and make sure that they stayed to deadline, working with typesetters, making sure that captions and everything was all correct. So there was a lot of fact checking going on, an awful lot of proofreading, my word, dozens and dozens and dozens of books.
That's why Chris has got glasses now.
Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of words. Sometimes books would be, they would require hundreds of corrections, full stops, grammar, you name it, spelling, all of that. And it was all non-fiction military history. So it was quite intense work. If you won't be tired, you get a date wrong of a particular battle during the Napoleonic Wars or something, you're going to hear about it from the people that are buying it. So it was a great thing. I relished under doing it, met some great people. But during that time, maybe you can step back in. You had plans to run your own business, and then I jumped in so you can pick up again. So I was publishing, and you had some ambitions, didn't you?
I did, yeah. So having already ripped up the real book once when I was in my 20s, when I got to my 30s, I was in this corporate world. So I talked before about the reward value I got from working with this really diverse and socially challenged group of people. And for me, the heart and the values reward from that was huge.
Yeah.
But I was working in a corporate environment that was very, very challenging. There was obviously layers of management. There was a lot of things that happened that didn't sit well with my values. Red tape and things like that. And I started to feel myself becoming not my best self. I felt anxious. I felt reluctant in some days to go to work, and I felt dissatisfaction on a deep level that was kind of separate to the joy I got from helping patients. But the totally ironic thing was I was working in a mental health setting and feeling that my own mental health was being depleted. So I was like, I could stay here forever. You know, in the NHS, there's a pay grade structure, there's opportunities for growth, but I wasn't happy. And I thought, I'm in this one beautiful life to live to be happy. And I owe it to myself, and I owe it to my husband and my family and friends and everybody who knows me to be my best self. And I thought, I am going to remove myself from this equation and create something new that matches my values basis, that I am going to be happy working in. So I laid down some groundwork to create my own business. I was doing social media management at the time and helping other businesses get into the paper. And it grew, and then it got to the point where I recognised I need another pair of hands.
You were right at the forefront of social media as well. You embraced it really early on, didn't you? When it was still a new thing.
A new thing.
Yeah.
And I thought, if I'm going to have another pair of hands, then I may as well have the best hands there are, the most trusted hands that I know. And I said to Chris, like, it would be my honour to share what I've created with you. Would you consider stepping on board this journey with me? And you said
I do. For the second time. No, I did. No, it was incredible. I mean, we talked about running our own company. It was always a dream. It was something that I remember us talking about during the very early days of our relationship. I mean, we've been together for 16 years now, and we're very, very lucky now and blessed to be in a position where we are not only sharing our life together, but also we run a business. So yeah, that was back in 2017. So Michelle had really began to gain a lot of momentum. She had all that credibility, all of that experience behind her. She was getting really amazing results for clients that she was working with. So it just got to the point really where she did need another pair of hands to help to manage the workload that she had, just to relieve a little bit of pressure, just to spread it out a bit, and then also to think about where we could take it next. We wanted to grow and evolve. So I had a chat with my boss at the publishers, told him the situation, that I was thinking about becoming my own boss, and he gave me his full blessing and said, yeah, it's a great thing. You won't regret doing it. You're going in with the best person you possibly could in Michelle, because he knew her very well. She'd done some social media management for him. So he was like, yeah, go ahead, go for it. So that was back in 2017. We rebranded the company, came on board, co-directors of it, and we've been growing it ever since then. So
we have,
So it's actually this month now that we're in June, we'll mark it. It will be
our third anniversary.
It will be our third anniversary this month in about 2 weeks' time, something like that. So actually, it's a really special moment for us. We're coming into our third year.
And it's evolved again. It's evolved from what it was when it was my business.
Oh, it's completely different, yeah.
It's now our business.
Yeah.
So we've built our strengths, taken our both assets of our core strengths, because we are different people.
Yeah, we work in different ways.
We're very united as people, but Chris is very diligent at project management and detail focused.
Oh, very detail focused.
I'm a kind of airy-fairy, ideas-y type person. So in that sense, we complement each other brilliantly. But we're
both doers. We both love the graft.
We love the graft.
We have done, yeah.
So we were like, how can we build something that is not me, but us. So we have now found our true calling through an adventure we went on last year called She Can 365.
Yeah.
So
that's been life changing.
Which has been truly life changing. So what we did on International Women's Day 2019.
So that was the 8th of March.
The 8th of March.
Yeah.
We set out on a mission to interview 365 female entrepreneurs in 365 consecutive days and tell every single story in exactly 365 words.
That's a lot of 365.
It's a lot of 365.
And we did it purely as a passion project.
Yeah, so we didn't charge anybody.
No charge, nothing.
There was no money exchanged hands.
No.
And we set off on this journey of every single day interviewing a different female entrepreneur, talking about their why, their purpose, their passions,
their fears, their hopes,
some of their challenges. And we condensed every story into 365 words and published it on the shecan365.com website.
So we split all the interviews up between us. You know, I wrote them, Michelle wrote them, we wrote them together. So, you know, I did my number, Michelle did her number. We put the appeal out there for people, for women to get in touch. Do you want to give a bit of background on how it all came together with Helen so quickly? Yeah. a bit of a nutshell of how it all came about.
We've got a really good friend called Helen Pritchard. She's an online marketing specialist. She's won loads of awards. She's just like the best with what she does. And I was talking to Helen on a social evening. Chris,
yeah, she's a very dear friend of ours.
We'd gotten together, we'd had some wine, we'd had an Indian takeaway, we were settling down to watch the football.
Match,
and I said to Helen, I've got this thing inside me where I want to talk to women about what it means to be a woman in business.
Yeah.
Because we found a lot of the time when we were speaking to our clients, particularly female clients, they didn't feel heard. They didn't feel the opportunities were out there in the same way they were for male entrepreneurs. They felt invisible. They didn't know how to find the words to tell their story. And we were like, what can we do to readdress this balance? So I said to Helen and Chris, I want to do something around this. I'm thinking maybe about a blog a week, just something to start some momentum.
Yeah.
And Helen being Helen,
you'd already kind of tentatively mentioned it to me, and I thought it was a great idea. But the next bit you said about it was one a week initially, wasn't it? So then you said to Helen.
So I said to Helen, I'm doing this, and she was like,
"Yeah,
that's not enough." She was like, "Anyone can write a blog a week. You've got to push yourself more. Do one a day for a year."
Yeah.
And we were like, "What?" So
it went from it went from being one a week for a year, so that would have been 52 blogs. Or 52 write-ups to then doing 365.
And we were like,
yeah.
Oh, we could launch it on International Women's Day.
Yeah, and then you had the idea of doing it to exactly 365 words as well, which I thought was amazing because it would mean that every story that we did, it would be a leveler. So regardless of...
Everyone would get exactly the same level of exposure, whether they've been in business 5 days
or 5 years.
Yeah,
and not only that, it gave us as writers a really finite workbook. Basically, we get setting ourselves our own deadline, our own parameters of, okay, you've got 365 words to condense a lady's entire business journey with all the personal stuff that's interspersed in that and represent a really, really strong human interest story. So for us, it was an amazing challenge as writers to get our creative juices going, but also it was to make sure that, as Michelle said, whether you were in business 5 years or 5 minutes or whatever, everybody was getting a fair crack of the whip.
Absolutely.
So that was how the 365 thing came together, wasn't it?
And then we were like, why don't we launch it on International Women's Day?
Yeah.
Let's have a look at the calendar and see when it is. We looked at the calendar, we were like, it's in 2 days' time.
2 days' time.
And Helen was like, that's not a problem, don't worry about that. So we went home, went to bed, and when we woke up the next morning, there was a message from Helen.
Yeah.
And she'd had the website built overnight. She'd got her team
branding
to construct an entire website and define the brand overnight. She was like,
she said, all you guys need to do now is write some blurbs to explain what it is. Yeah.
And she's like, you've got no excuses. It's there.
Yeah.
We're launching on International Women's Day. This is happening. Go for it.
And she knew we were doing it all completely free. She knew it was a passion project. So she said from the start, I'm going to be the project host of it, basically put the funding up for it, asked for nothing in return. It was like, I believe in you guys, you're going to do it. So Helen was the catalyst for making it
She was
possible for us,
100%.
amazing, and just an incredible source of support for what turned out to be literally a life-changing
It was
journey.
life-changing. We had probably in the region of about 3,000, 4,000 people contact us asking us to be part of the
when we started to put the word out.
Like once momentum grew and people were starting to see these stories every day.
Well, Helen let us have access to her business community, so we should mention that. So what happened is when we were all ready to go live with the concept of She Can, we did a video with Helen in Seoul, the three of us together. We explained how we'd come up with the idea, and Helen has got an incredible online community because of the work that she's involved in. 40,000 people. So she said to the ladies in her group, if you're interested in being a part of it, we laid out all the plan of it, why we were doing it, how much it meant to us to do it, how the whole thing had come about. People, and we were hoping, let's just make sure our whole people get in touch. We had no idea.
We had no idea whether people would like the idea or anything.
So Helen agreed to be day one of the project to get the ball rolling. So she is day one.
And then the first night we had 100 people.
100 people come through, 100 women with their stories, which were like, wow, and incredible.
And then what happened was the most beautiful thing, because every time we interviewed someone, they were like, I know this amazing woman. She's so cool.
I want to put forward.
Can you speak to her? And we were like, well, submit the application.
Yeah, because we considered every single one.
We did everything fairly, because what we wanted to do was also be representative and diverse.
That was really important to us,
we didn't want to just do like 365 white 40-year-olds from
business coaches.
We wanted to be really multicultural and embracing of people from lots of different backgrounds,
different ages.
People who were like in their 70s, 80s, people who are in, their late teens. We really wanted to make it inclusive. So we had to kind of assess all the applications that came in and make tough decisions.
Editorial decisions, basically. As we would if we were working on a magazine, or, making sure that we got, they were all worthy of inclusion in terms of, theoretically. But obviously, we knew that we only had 364 stories because Helen was already in. So again, it was about exercising our own judgment and having the confidence to choose stories that we knew would be in keeping with the ethos of the project. And I'm really delighted to say that we achieved that.
We definitely achieved that.
And it was tough decisions at times because everybody was wonderful. It truly were.
And then we kind of there was like this moment where it flipped from us asking for people to get in touch to people reaching out to us, and the project grew momentum and it grew momentum. And then
I think people just couldn't believe we were doing it.
No, people were like, you must be crazy. We did this on birthdays,
bank holidays, Christmas,
bank holidays. We had no holiday for a year while we were doing it. We had massive kind of impact financially on our ability to earn within our business because of all our time.
We couldn't take on client work, a lot of it.
So it was a big personal sacrifice for us, but it was so energizing. And it was like, we say, like, it was the best 365 days of coaching we'd ever had, because it was a daily lesson in resilience, daily lesson in self-belief, in knowing that challenges happen as part of life, but they can be overcome, in being connected to your why and your purpose, in being creative in how you arrive at your solutions, in finding new exciting ways to embrace entrepreneurialism in the context of a family. So how do you maintain familial connections and care for your children when you want to be a female entrepreneur? And we were learning all these amazing things. And then towards the home straight, people were like, this needs to be a book.
Yes, we kept getting told it needs to be a book. Because it started out as an online thing. It was an online presence. So as Michelle mentioned before, it was www.shecan365.com. There was never any intention initially for it to become a book or anything like that. It was just basically a daily blog for a year. That was it. So we started to get people literally calling out saying, have you and Michelle, or they'd say to Michelle if she was doing the interview, have you and Christian considered making this project into a physical book rather than just having it as a website project? So
we were like, we can do that. We can make
Why
that
not?
happen.
Why can't we do it? Yeah.
So what we did was we launched a Kickstarter campaign.
Which we'd never done before.
Never done it, ever. But
Yeah.
we somehow cobbled together the homepage, launched it, and we raised £10,000 in around about 20 days.
Yep, we had 20. How many days did we have to do it?
We had 30 days.
And we did it, I think, within 20.
Within 20 days, it was fully funded.
Self-published through a lady that is in the book.
Yeah.
So that
Team
was
Author UK.
Team Author UK. So there was a perfect synergy there because she was a lady who has her own publishing company. So who better to produce a book than her, because she was in the project, she bought into the ethos of it. So we raised the requisite funds to get everything covered.
And then we were in a race against time because we wanted to bring out the book exactly a year on from the launch.
Yes.
So that meant we had to cram, I'm going to say probably about 40 interviews into 17 days.
It was 14, 17 days,
So me and Chris were working probably around about 12 to 15 hours a day. Some days we were doing 4 interviews in a day.
Each.
Writing them up.
Sometimes each.
And I should say as well, every single interview we did, every single write-up, we shared with the interviewee. They
prior to approval,
if there was any changes they wanted, we implemented those changes, because it's really important to us that trying to build trust with the media, trying to encourage women to feel confident telling their stories. We didn't want them to look at the output and think that doesn't represent me.
Well, it was about tearing up the real book again, because even though doing it in that way to get the approval from every lady we talked to, that added on a considerable amount of time to the project, literally hours. If you were to calculate it, it would be days worth, or it couldn't be any other way because of the fact that it was coming from our heart and soul to do it that way. But also, like Michelle said, we wanted to shake up this idea that writers and people who work within the media can't be trusted. So we wanted to let every woman know that when we were producing their story, it was being handled with the utmost care, sensitivity and diligence. Now, a lot of these stories that we're talking about, some of the subjects that were covered, it's an absolute, in terms of emotions, they're all in there. Yeah. So we had a duty of care to make these women feel that when they were interviewed, that they were being supported throughout, and that their story would be encapsulated exactly as written. So the only stipulation we had, as we mentioned before, is that we just have to make sure that when you've read through it and you've made any tweaks or any sense checking you want to do, that we deliver each story bang on 365 words. And every single lady bought into that. They loved the concept of it. They understood it. So as Michelle said before, that was a really important element of our project, that every story, if it did not go on that website until the lady had given it 100% final sign off and consent.
We also made an editorial choice to render every single photo in black and white.
We did,
which was again to create this feeling of unity and equality across the project.
And we didn't see any photos prior either to interviewing them. So
we accepted stories on the basis of the pitch that they sent to us and the telephone conversation.
That was all.
We didn't want to be swayed by these ideas of what beauty is or physical representation of people. So we only actually saw the picture of the person once the story had been told.
We'd heard their voice as well, because we did everything over the phone. So we didn't do any interview over Zoom or anything like that.
Everything was over the phone.
Yeah, we did none in person. It was all over the phone. So you'd get the pitch, we'd select them, we'd ring them, do the interview, and then the picture would come. And that was how we did it for the full year.
So because we never wanted it to be, again, these idealized standards of beauty that the media perpetuates. We wanted it to be about the woman, her core values, her beliefs, her life experience. So that was all part of the process. So we were in this race against time. We got the book finished. We got it done for International Women's Day.
So the book itself was completed. It was actually completed on Valentine's Day.
Because obviously it has to be done in advance, ready for the print run.
Yeah, so we did it like a good 2.5 weeks. So even though the website still hadn't caught up,
because we were still publishing one a day
right through to the 8th of March, whatever it was. The book itself, or the stories were all written and ready to go to the publisher.
So we were all ready with this book, this beautiful book that was our life's work for a year's work.
Yeah.
ready to go. We
Yeah.
planned a lunch party.
Yeah.
All the invites gone out, and then coronavirus happened.
Yeah. People had pledged to get signed copies of the book as part of the Kickstarter initiative, so everything had to go on hold.
So everything. So
Yeah.
currently,
Yeah.
our baby, our book baby,
Yeah.
is encased in cardboard boxes
Yeah.
in our project host office where it's being securely held.
Yeah.
So we've not been able to share this book with the world yet.
Because we need to get together safely with Helen to autograph the books, which was part of the Kickstarter initiative. They're all first edition signed copies.
So we're hoping to do that, because obviously the rules have changed this week. So we're hoping we'll be able to do that and then replan the party.
That safely,
But what we have done is, even from when we finished telling the stories, we have created this online community, the She Can 365 Female Entrepreneurs Group, and we've got a She Can 365 Facebook page. And we have stayed in touch with our ladies every single day since the project ended. So we've opened this platform to them and said, during lockdown, tell us what you're selling. This is a safe place to sell, because you still need to feed your kids. You know, use our platform to sell your products and services. And we've had, you know, Facebook conversations with them. We spoke to them over Zoom. We've interviewed some of them using StreamYard.
Yeah.
And these people are our tribe now. These people, and we
belong to them.
We belong to them. They belong to us, and we reflect, like, what would lockdown have been like if we'd have not done the She Can 365 project? Because honestly, these women lift us up as much as we hope we do that for them. And that's why we say this has been life-changing.
Yeah, it's without question. Yeah,
it's
for me,
the best thing we've ever done. And it's kind of changed our purpose to be regimentally focused now on empowering business owners to tell their own stories. So what we're doing now is we've created some toolkits, and we're doing webinars, and we are stopping doing the doing. So we are no longer delivering ourselves. We are saying, take this. This is what we have learned in the past combined 30 years
of
being a journalist, being a PR person. You don't have to do that legwork. We've done it for you. Here's the tools that you can go and tell your story.
Implement it for yourself.
You know, there's video tutorials, there is templates, there is guidance on how to speak to the press, scripts if people are not confident around
get a bit tongue-tied, etiquette around following up with reporters, how to take the perfect photograph without needing a David Bailey professional standard camera or all the skill to do it.
Just do it with your smartphone.
You can just do it with a few simple do's and don'ts of how to frame the photograph, etc. So we've covered off all bases through the fact, as Michelle mentioned, having been in a position where we both worked in the newsroom, both worked in the press office, we know how both worlds work, and we know how, you know, what's required to get the best results. So
we've created this pack which we are so proud of. And we're seeing results already. We're seeing, like, business owners who've never been in the press, who have sent out a press release, got the coverage, and even one of our beautiful She Can 365 ladies, Becky Field.
Becky, yes, tremendous story,
never done a press release before. She used the kit, she got in the press, and within 24 hours, she had 5 new prospective clients contact her who had seen her story, but they had connected with her on a values basis. They weren't being sold in an advertising, sleazy way. These were people who were like, Becky is one of us. She is our tribe. We want to work with her because we are heart businesses connected to each other. And that's what we're focused on. We want to be like non-sleazy PR people, you know.
Because they do exist, you know.
They do exist. You don't have to be an ad fab to be in PR.
No. Or you don't have to be, Samantha, is it, from Sex and the City?
You know,
she was PR, wasn't she?
You know, we're not champagne and high heels people. Definitely not Chris.
No. I don't get my legs out very often, has to be said. No.
Keeping it real with the tea.
Keeping it real,
Because we just think telling your story is the most liberating, the most powerful, the most rewarding, validating thing you can do. If you are a person who self-reflects at times and thinks, oh my gosh, I should just jack this in, I should get a job, my mum doesn't get it, you know, what am I doing, why am I even in this situation? Sometimes you just need a mirror to be held back up and go, look at what you've done. You've done the hard bit. You've cut all the safety net cords that so many other people in society are too afraid to cut. You're free. Celebrate your freedom. Celebrate your achievements.
Celebrate your bravery
and
your
your bravery and your courage. And you owe that to pass that down to other people. Every time you show somebody else there's a different way to live life,
you don't know who's going to hear that and who can be influenced by it.
Somebody else free. Because the dogma that we hear, the narrative that is always reinforced is have a 9-to-5 job, live in the same house, be crippled by mortgage payments, be in a relationship that, you know, you might not be necessarily happy, but just muddle through and make it work. We're told all these things that we should be doing.
As well.
Obliging people.
Yeah.
And we salute anyone who is prepared to be the square peg in the round hole. Like, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're doing your own thing, celebrate that. Just talk about it, because it will make you feel better about yourself and it will inspire other people to make that leap as well.
Please take our word for that.
Honestly. Yeah. And it all comes down to storytelling. It's like the oldest art form
in the world.
Like, since the days
old as time,
when people sat round campfires,
before people could write,
passed on wisdom and knowledge. That's how people connected with each other. Truly connected is through
stories would spread from village to village, town to town, you know.
And you know, all these years later, you can still have that impact just by having the courage and the confidence to step in the spotlight. And yes, there will be some people who will pass judgment, and yes, it might feel a bit icky and uncomfortable.
Worried about, you know, your family or your neighbours seeing it in the paper or whatever.
But honestly, how many other things in life have you been afraid of, pushed through that fear and got the reward from it on the other side? And this is the same. If you've been afraid to post on social media at some point in your life.
The first time maybe,
First time you've done a Facebook Live, the first time you've put yourself out there in this world.
The first time you went for a job interview. Anything.
Yeah. We're all constantly, every day, opening ourselves up to criticism, but you can open yourself up to opportunity and courage building confidence by doing this, just by telling your story. And that is what we are so passionate about now, is just tell your story.
Our eyes have been opened in that regard with what we've created.
And live a life that you would want to tell that story. If you are looking at your life and thinking there's no interesting high points, or there's nothing today that I could even look back and think I enjoyed, then listen to that and think, what needs to change so that I am telling a beautiful story? I'm not just telling a story everyone else expects me to tell. So I think that would be something that I would say.
Sam, yeah.
Wow, I'm so moved. So moved. I'm actually moved beyond words, which is a rare thing for me. What you have shared is so deeply empowering about honouring yourself in order to find the peg that is your size, and how important it is to tell your story, and how this project has facilitated how important it is to empower people to tell their stories. And I really appreciate that you've had all of this experience, and that now you have created a package whereby Joe Average can go, and actually I've had a go at it, so I can guarantee that these templates and these instruction videos do actually work to tell their story. And it's so moving, because it's so important to, obviously my project is called Celebrate Yourself, so I'm absolutely on board with that. And do you know what breaks my heart? Many people that I interview actually and speak to say, but who would want to listen to my story? Isn't that heartbreaking? And I say, you know what? I said this today. The fact that you are standing today and you've survived your life so far is something worth celebrating, because hasn't it been an awesome achievement? The fact that you and me, we have come this far, and like you say, stop and turn back and just take stock and go, look how much I've survived, look how much I've achieved, look how much I've learned in my life. And it may not be amazing, wondrous things, but actually I just think the fact that we're still here is a miracle.
Yeah,
completely agree.
It is a miracle.
Yeah.
And it's a miracle that needs articulating, because somebody somewhere needs to hear that they are not alone. Like in our
now more than ever.
Yeah, in our She Can 365 project, I would say on a conservative estimate, probably at least a third of those ladies had some fertility issues.
Yeah.
So they might have had baby loss, they might have had challenging pregnancies, they might have struggled with their new identity as a mother, or postnatal depression. And every single one of them said to us, at some point in time, they felt like they were the only person in the world going through that. Other people in the project had abusive backgrounds, or challenging familial relationships, or they had
bullying in the workplace as well.
Workplace bullying, or that everybody has a rod on their back of some description. And we have always, at some point, felt we were the only person with that cross to bear. And I think the more that people, and this goes back to working at the NHS in the mental health role, the more people that we normalise challenging conversations, the less people feel alone. The more it's okay to say, something you said to me really resonates about my life story. Maybe now's the time I need some help. Maybe it's the time I need to reach out and actually say, life feels hard at the moment. What help can I access to make things feel a bit more comfortable, a little bit easier to live with? And you just will never know. You don't, like, I interviewed a soap opera actor who in the soap had a drinking problem. And he was in his real life, in the real world, in a bar.
It was in Glasgow.
In Scotland.
The show's not set there, but yeah, he was up there.
He was up there, and he had a man come up to him in what this actor thought at first was quite confrontational. He was like, "Oh my gosh!"
So he just kept looking at him,
staring at him, and he's like, "Where is this going?" And this guy was kind of like making attempts, like he was going to come over, and then changing his mind and going back. And then finally he did come over, and he said, "I saw you in this soap opera."
He said, "You play so-and-so, don't you?" And he said, "Yeah, I do."
And he was like, "Because of that storyline, I went to Alcoholics Anonymous, and I've stopped drinking in the way that I used to drink." And
he went and got help.
And that was through the art of storytelling. That was showing an experience that resonated with this man to the extent that he made a life-changing decision.
So when the actor shared that, he said, didn't he, to you, that completely validated everything. I mean, obviously completely invested in, he loves his career, but he said it's moments like that when you get real life people approaching you and telling you that something that you've performed, a piece that you've performed, has been the absolute primary catalyst that I needed to make me go and take a decision that will invariably alter the course of that man's life. So for him to hear that, he said to you, it made him very, very emotional.
It did.
To hear that a piece of work he'd done had influenced another person in that way to make a big decision like that.
And I think with entrepreneurs particularly, so many people are miserable in their job. It's crazy how many people get up and go to work in the morning to do a job they don't even like, because they just can't see an alternative. And I so strongly believe that if you have been a person who has made that leap, talk about it, because the more you talk about it, the more you normalize this idea that you don't have to do a 9 to 5, you don't have to be in the corporate workplace, you don't have to have systematic corporate bullying, you don't have to have appraisals every 5 minutes that question your self-worth. You don't have to live that life, but other people need to see that there is hope and that there is opportunity and that there is a different way to live. So every time an entrepreneur puts their hand up and says, I do this, it's not easy, but the rewards are so much more than I could ever have hoped.
And we never vouch for it being easy, believe us.
No, it's not easy.
We don't just say, it's all about, just ditch the corporate world and it'll all be a doddle. It's not a doddle. There's a lot of hard work involved to it, but the point that we're making is that you can redefine your own life's journey. You can create a new chapter. So if you're not happy with how your chapter's going right now, if you're not happy with how the plot's developing, just to use that analogy of a book, your life story isn't quite going the way you wanted it to, then put a twist in there and do something different, and then the next chapter will take you in a wholly new direction. But yes, be prepared to do the work, but if it's something that you're passionate enough about, then you'll do that work without even thinking about it. It won't feel like work, because you'll be happy doing something, whereas you're probably doing work now where you're not feeling happy about it because you're unfulfilled, or you feel
it contradicts your values.
Yeah,
I
feel
think
maybe
that's
undermined or underappreciated, or
that's one of the toughest things about working in a corporate setting. Is
because we've been there too. We've both been in that world, so we know. We do know.
Decisions you're forced to make, or choices that you have to make, they can clash with your personal value base over and over again. And every day you're going home thinking, I did something there that didn't really feel true to me. And over time, you start to dislike yourself and start to think, oh my gosh, who am I? How am I showing up in the world in a way that doesn't even reflect who I am?
You truly am, yeah.
And I think the most challenging day you'll ever have as an entrepreneur never feels as bad as a shit day in the office. It never does. It just absolutely doesn't. You can lose a client, you can be worried about the tax bill, you can have, childcare woes and all the rest of it.
Your money go up and down
Money going up and down, but it never feels as bad as that sense of being trapped in a world that is not of your own making, that doesn't reflect the core personality and the core values that are true to you.
That's so powerful. I'm so moved, because everybody that I interview here in this absolute passion project for me has done corporates, was out of alignment in their heart, and is now doing something that's a lot closer to their soul purpose. And the thing I really want to celebrate, acknowledge, and really validate that you've done is that you have both never sold out on your values. You have left situations and environments when it was no longer in integrity for you both.
That's correct.
You've had criticism, you've had public commentary. People are so happy and willing to give free advice and comment, aren't they? And what's just so awesome is that you are being that inspirational story that I think needs to be told again and again and again, because it is possible to have a different way of life. It's possible to have a different way of doing marriage. It's possible to have a different way of working. And the way that you are showing that, and the way that your actual life and your career path has shown that, and also the way that this passion project, she says, 365 has also shown you a pathway that's so full of light. Yes, it's been really hard work, but the pathway that has shown you now to be doing the question, of course, I asked you 53 minutes ago. So how come?
Sorry.
No, it's a long story.
We have a habit of doing that.
I insist it's the long play version, because anyone out there who's interested in having an amazing life needs to watch this, and this needs to be a feature-length movie and more, because I absolutely agree with you about these are stories that need to be told. And so the way that you are enabling people to tell their stories and to ease that any kind of self-doubt that, well, who'd want to listen to my story? And I will confide in you, actually. I interviewed someone on Friday who is so amazing and so super duper, that I had a little doubt within myself, well, but who wants to listen to my story? I actually had that thought. And me being me, like the badass goddess, said, honey, the world is going to hear your story. Don't you worry about that. Don't you worry. That's okay. That is a fear. That is a fear that arises in society, and it's okay. Don't worry. I love you. That's not you. That's not your fear. We're going to tell your story anyway, and we're going to help people tell their stories. So I just applaud you, because this is the news. This is important. And tell us how you help people to tell their stories. Tell us about your press pack, what's involved, and how easy it is to, how you've put your 30 years combined experience into it, how we find you on your website and everything.
Okay, so the press pack is just a posh word for a toolkit, really. It's like having everything at your fingertips and disposal that you need to tell your story to the press. Now,
regardless of sector.
So it doesn't matter what sector you're in, doesn't matter how long you've been in business, this will work for you. And the reason we say that with such confidence is because we have been doing this for our own clients in our corporate lives, year in, year out, and it's a formula that reporters know, like, and trust. So what it's designed to do is help you to put your story across in a cohesive narrative that is going to feel familiar and trustworthy to a reporter. It's going to eliminate all the questions that they would otherwise come back at you with, that are stumbling blocks that delay the process of getting into the press. It's about making their life as easy as possible, making it as easy as possible for them to look at it and go, this is something I can print, this is something I want to work with, let's get it in the paper.
There's no ambiguity.
There isn't.
No, nice and clear, succinct. Here's what we need to give to the reporter. They receive it. Okay. That's exactly what I need. And because that's the formula behind it.
Definitely, because we understand people like to learn in different ways. So there are written resources. If that's you, then you're covered. But equally, some people like to take information on board through like a video tutorial. So we have included that in the pack as well. And it's an overarching pack. So there's ideas in there, because so many people say, I'd love to be in the press, but I haven't got a story idea. So you've got 20 story ideas that can work for any business to help you to get that coverage. There's story ideas to work with. There is a process to write a press release itself.
That's covered.
That's all covered. There's information on what to say to the journalist, either over the telephone or on an email, to convince them to print that press release.
So that's the pitch.
That's the pitch. And then there's guidance on how to take a photograph that tells the story using just your smartphone. So we don't want to say to people, you can't do this because you've not got a fancy camera. Literally, your smartphone is enough to take a good picture when you follow the tips we've given. And then we've got some learning in there that we've assimilated through our lived experience of being reporters, about how to relate to them in a polite, professional way.
Because there's a lot of etiquette involved in the industry.
There is. So we've got some hints in there about how to speak to reporters, when to speak to reporters, and how not to speak to them. So
that's important.
You're going to build up a good relationship, because the goal with this is not to just get your story in the paper, tick a box, job done, never happens again. This is about building a continuous portfolio of articles that have been printed, so that the newspaper begins to know, like, and trust you, come to you for comments on developing stories, and you're going to get that ongoing press coverage that translates into potential leads for your business, builds up all this self-value and self-worth.
Social proof.
Social proof, so you feel good about who you are and what you do. So the pack is a complete toolkit. delivered straight to your inbox, and it's £99. Now, what we would say is that to buy a single advert in a newspaper would typically cost between £300 and £500. And
That's just the advert.
That's literally just for the advert to be printed one time only in one edition. So what we're teaching here is a life skill that you can go back to whenever you feel you've got a story to tell, or you need a bit of a visibility boost, or you want to get the word out there to thousands of potential customers in a way that you just can't do through social media or email marketing, because the press attracts credibility. We're not talking about fake news, you know, the MSM media and all these things that are kind of being criticised at the moment. This is about building positive relationships with publications that are designed to serve the community that you want to do business in and with.
And that you live in, or you're based in.
That you're based in. So this could be industry-specific publications. So if you're a coach, relevant coaching magazines,
trade journals,
or it can be your local paper, which should never be underestimated, because the research shows that people are 50% more likely to shop local, buy local, support local businesses. So that emotional connection is always strongest in your local community. And then you've got the regional press, which is kind of that one concentric circle out that embraces the wider region in which your company is based. So this pack,
county-wide,
county-wide. So
So
this pack is about helping you to position your business positively in as many news outlets as you choose to reach out to. And the process itself does not change. It's the same process, and you just need to learn it. So you have everything you need already to go on this journey. It's just the tools, the actual tools of what to say, to who, when, and how. And
it might be that, say, story idea number 4 of the 20 works for you on one particular occasion, but it might be that number 15 or 16 will be applicable another time. So when you look at your 20, there are definitely, aren't there, Michelle, going to be maybe 2 or 3 that stand out straight away in terms of that there's like an emotional resonance or connection with that. But then it may be that, as I mentioned before, a little further down the line, as your business journey begins to progress, maybe things expand or things change, you might find another trope, as I like to call them, will then be of relevance, and then you can repurpose it and use the toolkit again. So that's the beauty of it, in that, as Michelle said, it's really important that people don't treat it as a tick in the box. It's not designed for that. Once you start to get coverage in a newspaper and you start to feel that sense of validation and confidence, and not only that, there's like a real sense of endorsement. It's a very emotional thing when you open a newspaper up and you see a person's name, you know, written by, and your photograph is in there and it's all written about you. You know, you're happy and you feel, look, I want to share it with everybody. Oh, look, I'm in the paper. You cut it out, you keep it as a press clipping, you might frame it, put it on your wall. You know, there's a very emotional thing attached to it. And then I'm not just saying it, whenever I talk about it, I do get goosebumps, because I know how it feels to see people that have never been in print before, see that expression. There is no feeling. That for the pair of us is the greatest feeling. Communally, I think we've ever shared. When you see the look on the face when they actually think, I've never thought about telling the story before. Not only have I told it, I've now got a result as well to go with it. It's an incredible feeling, and that's what makes us do what we want to do, because we are invested in it as people. We want to spread that passion and love with other people, but give them the tools to do it themselves. You don't need to be some wonderful creative writer to do it, because all the templates and all the ways of framing it has all been mapped out for you.
Absolutely. So, and like as you know, going back to our early days as reporters, we used to love getting bylines. That never loses its magic. But
for a reporter,
but I can tell you now, it feels so much better to see somebody else get their own byline. You know, to see somebody else get the result for themselves. It blows that feeling of being a reporter yourself out of the water, because you know this person has made a piece of magic happen for themselves. They have, like, we've had people, we walk into their office and they've got their news clippings framed on the wall or by the phone on the reception desk, and subconsciously people understand that when a reporter chooses to write about a business, they're affording a layer or a level of credibility on that business. Because
that's why they've made the cut.
Anyone who's got a Facebook account can go on Facebook and say, my business is great.
It's the best in the world.
The best in the world, this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
But when a third party, someone who is removed from you, chooses to do the bragging for you, it's the most affirming moment you can imagine, because it's like, I've arrived. I am here, you know, like.
And not only that, you haven't paid for an advert for the privilege of it.
Yeah,
that's really important. When you're paying for an advert, you're buying the coverage, you're buying the exposure, and it's going to be written in a way where it's obviously biased to the company, because it's all about sell, sell, sell. It's all about my product is this. But if you can still make your product be known, but do it in a way where it's got a newsworthy angle to it and it's credible, that is equally as effective. And as you mentioned before, you've not had to pay £500 for the privilege of it.
And you've not had to sacrifice a piece of your soul either.
No.
You've not had to go out there with like an advertising, hardcore, buy message. You've actually done something beautiful, because you've given a part of yourself, a part of your story, in exchange for the opportunity to build a loyal audience who want to back you and see you do good. So it's on a soul level, it's so much more validating than just this, I'm going to give you this money and I'm going to get this 12 by 12 square box in return for it. So yeah, so that's our toolkit, the press pack. So it's 99 quid. You can find it at www.writeontimes.co.uk. So that's write as in writing, WRITE.
Yeah, that's our company name, Right On Time.
.co.uk. And yeah, it's there for people who are ready to take the spoon of adventure that we're extending to you, for you to take this opportunity, because if you don't, somebody else will. That paper has to be filled.
That's the most incredible invitation that you are giving people. You are inviting people to showcase their amazingness.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. And believe me, we are all in different ways. We're all amazing. We've all got a story to tell. It's just about having the confidence to identify it. It's about having a starting point, and that's where the press pack will cover that for you. So, you know, it might be that you're feeling very confident. You might know that you have got a great story to tell, but maybe the writing part of it might be the stumbling block. That's covered too. So it's designed as a catch-all for people of, you know, could be varying degrees of confidence, varying abilities. It may be that people have been in the paper before, but they want to get a taste of it again. It might be that your ambition, and we've met many people in that position, just want to crack it and get in the paper for the first time. We've encountered that a lot, whereby once you get in, you're like, wow, now I know how it feels. I want it again. I want to get that feeling again. So as Michelle mentioned, once you've got it there in your toolkit, you can just take it out as and when you need it. Keep looking at what your business is doing, how it's developing, how people involved in your business, how are they developing? Have they got a story to tell? Is there something going on as a wider conversation that would be relevant and current to the current news agenda?
Do you want to share your viewpoint?
Share your viewpoint on something,
issue?
A thought leadership piece, it's all covered in there.
Yeah, there's a whole section on thought leadership.
So as long as you're prepared to do the work and look into it, that's all good. Just follow the process. That's it.
That's great, and I love what you say about what's the difference between having your own PR piece as a newsworthy item as opposed to a paid advert. But also, when I'm flicking through a magazine, it says promotion above.
Yeah, that's right.
I just switch off, so I don't read it, because I know it's going to be sales driven and they're going to aggrandise and make this product or this person's service really, really amazing, but they've paid for it. What you're saying is something so much more empowering and validating. And something else that arises for me to share is that even as a personal development tool, to write about myself, my life, my gifts that I have given in this world, but also it's a really great thing to do, even if I'm not intending for something to be launched into the physical press. It's something very, very validating, as a personal writing exercise as well. It's so validating.
I'm delighted you mentioned that, Marie, because another thing with when you start to get into the mindset of creating stories and identifying them, it is something that you can get addicted to and get really, really into the zone with it. And you can actually repurpose those stories in the form of blog content, you know, for your social media presence.
Social media posts.
It's really important.
Award entries.
Yeah, it doesn't just stop at actually pitching it to the press. And as Michelle just mentioned there, an award entry, for instance, if you're interested in trying to gain some recognition within your field for, you know, wanting to win some kind of accolade, the background information that you will inevitably pull together in order to tell the story that you want to tell for the purpose of a newspaper, that is all evidence that is then going to be relevant for say, an award application. Or it may just be that you've written something down and you think, do you know what, that would make a really good blog. I could blog about that today on my LinkedIn profile. So you can actually recycle the information in various ways, can't you, as well? So
you absolutely can.
There's a lot of win-wins to it.
What I would say is it's one of the best exercises for encouraging positive mindset.
Oh yeah, without question.
Because it forces you into a state of mind where you are choosing to make the time to reflect on what has gone well for you, what your personal achievements are, how you have overcome challenge, where you have been resilient.
You can't hide from it. You can't.
This is the mindset that is key to success in business, because the more you get used to positive self-talk, to giving yourself a pat on the back, to saying actually individual days may be challenging, but the overarching theme of my story is good, the stronger and more resilient and capable of productivity, continued success you are going to be, because you are creating a mindset toolkit that is going to push you further down the line, so much more than if you kind of sit on all your successes, dim your own light, indulge in negative self-talk, and frame your thinking consistently around challenge. Flipping it to focus on the positives is going to be a wellness tool for you and for your business moving forward.
And we appreciate that it's not always easy to do that, but it is a very, very healthy thing to do if you can muster up that strength and confidence to do it. So, you know, we don't say that with any flippancy. It is difficult to sometimes look at things in a positive way when you do feel that things are negative, but believe me, there is a way to do that. And we would actively encourage you that with a little bit of faith and a little bit of belief in that, it can be done, and you will start to feel better for it. You really will.
That's just a wonderful pathway giver. It's a way showing of doing it. And if somebody, I just think this is perfect. Do you know what? I'm just going to be really honest. I honest to God did not have the faith in myself about who I am and what I'm doing here in this world to actually do a press release about myself until I met you. Until I started practicing doing a press release actually for somebody else. And then now, having this conversation with you, I'm literally going to go away and do this for me as well. I mean,
Please do, Maria.
It's good. Really good.
I want you to have that experience for yourself.
That's music to our ears to hear that, Maria. To take the initiative, seize the day, carpe diem, etc. Go for it. You've got the toolkit. You've got the ideas engine there. You know, in terms of getting it all flowing. You're now feeling empowered in your own mind, in your own heart to do it. So you've already crossed the Rubicon in that respect. Just have to go forward with it.
Yeah, like honestly, right? You could put together a press release in round about an hour. Now, I challenge anyone to tell me they haven't spent an hour binging Netflix, an hour scrolling through their phone, an hour in any kind
watching TikTok.
Watching TikTok, any of these,
and they're all great.
I'm not being critical because it's stuff I do myself.
And me.
But until we did the She Can 365 project, we could not have ever imagined that we would find 4 hours a day to make that happen. That would have been so beyond the pale that we could structure our life to make that
for a year
happen
as well.
for a year.
Yeah.
But when you take away the excuse that it cannot be done, the only thing left is that it can.
Which is where the can came from in the name of the project, wasn't it?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Once you tell yourself, this is going to happen because I make that so, it will happen. It's a choice. You can choose to do something new that may feel stretching and may feel uncomfortable, but ultimately leads to a great result. Or you can not do that and just have what you've always had. So those are the two options open to you.
I love that, because so many talks and interviews, even the expert, so to speak, is sharing lots of amazing things and blah blah blah, which is amazing and it's really inspiring. And then I go away and think, yeah, but how can I do that personally in my life? And the beautiful blessing and the generosity of what you're presenting is you're giving the most amazing backstory. I mean, this for me, I just thought this was going to be an interview about journalism, to be honest with you. This actually is an interview about powerful empowerment in the world, in who you are, in what you do for a living, in how you present that to the world. So empowering. The extra mega amounts of bonuses that you are giving is that you are giving the way of how to do it. You're giving the roadmap, you're giving the tools, you're giving the directives. Because just to give you another analogy to this, another metaphor that I always like to use is, it's really easy to tell your best mate to go, oh babe, don't worry about that, you just need to love yourself more. You just need to be confident. You just need to be yourself. But does that friend ever tell you, oh, but how do you do that hallowed, holy grail thing of be confident or love yourself or not sell out on yourself? And here, what's really different is that you are giving it, and also you are giving it economically. You really are enabling people to just rise and shine. And I just think, that's so newsworthy. That's such a huge act of generosity and kindness to humanity, because what person will watch or listen to this and not get some identification? This is about us as people.
Absolutely. And what
That's
I would
beautifully thought that, Maria. Yeah.
Everything you said just then, I completely agree with. What I would also say is that ultimately, I don't care if during this process you hate every second of it. We have got everybody at some point has said, I didn't think this would work. They've kind of gone through it.
But I've admired that honesty.
Yeah.
A few people said, a bit sceptical.
I don't think it'll work. And they've gone through it and they've found it so tough to dig deep and revisit things.
Lifting the veil a little bit on who they are.
Revisit challenging times, or to force themselves to blow their own trumpet.
Which is a very British thing.
That people say.
I can't blow my own trumpet, well.
You might not enjoy this process, because as much as we say, like, it's positive and it's good, the big hurrah moment, the amazingness is when it's in print, and then people go, oh my god, it does work, I do feel amazing.
Eureka,
you were right,
Eureka.
So you almost have to go through the pain to get the conversion, almost. But when I say, like, I don't care if you don't enjoy it, I'm being flippant about that. What I'm trying to say is, be prepared to put yourself through transitory pain to experience a joy that you didn't even know was missing from your life at the end of it. Honestly, everything is difficult the first time you do it, but the reward, I can't even begin to put into words how good you would feel. It's one of the biggest wow moments. You can spend a while crafting a Facebook post and think, I'm going to get 100 likes on that, and then it falls flat and you feel a bit rubbish about yourself, and you think, oh, I laboured over that and it was difficult. Won't bother doing that ever again. But the feeling of getting in the paper, you can't even put that into words. And yes, there's some work involved. We are
There is
not
work
here
involved. Yeah, there is definitely
saying
work involved.
you
Yeah.
can go like this and be in the paper. That's not it. We're not saying don't do any work. We're saying do it.
Follow the process.
Follow the process.
Yeah.
And give yourself the gift of the result at the end of it, because that will inspire you to do your next press release and the one after that.
Yeah, and it's how you define pain as well. I mean, for some people it might be the prospect of sitting down watching a 20-minute video and thinking, I'd rather be watching, you know, something else. Or it might be the idea of actually writing something down on a piece of paper is their definition of pain. Or it might be having to reveal a little bit about their background. So we totally get all of that.
Yeah.
We do get that. But what we're trying to do with the resource that we've created is to guide you in a gentle way through those different roadblocks that you might have. You think, yeah, there will come a point in your own mindset when you're looking at the document thinking, I really don't know about that. But if you do look at how it can be reframed, and when you've got those little prompts in front of you, the 20 ideas we talked about before, it will definitely eliminate some of that that reticence to actually put yourself out there and go, yeah, I have got a story, yeah, because number 12 really resonates with me, or number 1 or whatever. There will be something there that will make you think, yeah, I can actually embellish that and do something with it. So as long as you are prepared to put the effort into that, you will then get the reward at the end.
But it's not an amount of effort that would feel onerous. Like this is something you can do in a couple of hours. It's something that can be done the same day. This is not like signing up for a 12-month program.
Yeah, we should probably give an idea, I mean, of the length of the document. I mean, we're talking, I mean, it's not some 200-page tome thing.
It's like 5 or 6
pages of
a 20-minute video, and that's it. That's it. That's all you need. So it's just a question of, are you ready to accept that challenge?
I love that. I love that because it takes the overwhelm out, and I agree. In the 20 ideas, I did find ideas, because otherwise what it does and what's good about it, it eliminates the blank page syndrome. I don't know where to start, I don't know what to write. And it does just get to the point. It gets to the essence of the work. And on the one hand, a doubting perspective would be, well, is that it? Is that all there is? But I would argue and offer that actually its genius is in the fact that you've spent 30 years together distilling the very best headlines, the very best processes into the pure essence, the pure real jet fuel. So I just cannot recommend this enough. I think it will empower people beyond belief, and I have just seen so many thousands of reasons to empower myself and start to write my story. And I know that people watching this will feel the same way. And after all, why are we really here? And I just, before I get really, really philosophical, go on a tangent, I just really want to acknowledge you both. You are the most harmonious, locked in couple. You do this together. Everything that you do it together, and you just bring that unity consciousness and that power to what you do that I've never witnessed before.
Oh, thank you, Maria. That's the nicest compliment you could ever have given us. That's beautiful. It really is. Thank you.
Really appreciate that.
It's outstandingly powerful because of who you are. Who you are individually is outrageously awesome and empowering and admirable. And then who you are together is absolutely out of this world. And again, this is something that brings its own power with it. And this as well is really a newsworthy item of who you are together, and that you've done this together, you've journeyed this together, and you offer this together. I mean, just to go off on another tangent, you really bring that masculine feminine balance to it as well. You've got your creative embellishing side, and then you've just got the, what are the facts, what's the deadline, what's the
That's so true.
You bring it, and I think this has global appeal. It's translatable, it's simple, its beauty is in its simplicity. I just really love your work. I have loved getting to know you.
Thank you, Maria.
I enjoyed every second of this interview.
Loved it.
And I just think you are amazing beings and beacons of light in this world at a time when this is so needed more than ever before. And most of all for me, what you're doing is you are giving people permission to shine so that others also have permission to shine too. And what could be the biggest gift than that?
Honestly, I can't even begin to express and put into words. I don't get lost for words very often, do I? No. So maybe you can help us for us both. But that's just such a beautiful thing to say.
It's a lovely compliment to us, and it really does. That's all we want. We're like, we look at the world like it's a galaxy of shining stars, and we just think every single one, every star in the night sky deserves to have its moment. And you can do this. You can absolutely do this. It's just a change of mindset to reflect on yourself positively and see how other people look at you.
Give yourself that gift just to do that, even if it's just for an afternoon or an evening, just to look at what is going well. You know, what have I done in my business that I'm proud of? What decisions did I make? Like, for instance, going into self-employment to start with. You know, that's an achievement. Not everybody does that.
That's the story.
That's a huge
Full
achievement.
Stop. Yeah, that you did that.
That you even did that to begin with. There was something in you that gave you that drive and that belief to go, I want to create my own journey. I want to be my own boss. I want to do my own thing. And yeah, you know, with the passage of time, it's very easy to become lost in what you're doing, and you can sometimes start to feel like you're working in the business rather than on it. You know, you're not maybe progressing as you'd like to, and you know. Think that, you know, life gets in the way. Things happen that aren't planned, and things that are
like a giant lockdown.
Yeah, like a global pandemic, for instance. You know, or, you know, whatever. You know, that just came, didn't it? Just came along, and we didn't know a couple of years ago that happened. If you've got a 5-year plan, well, I didn't know in 2020 there'd be a lockdown. So things like that. You know, when you start to think about it, just try not to be too harsh on things that are genuinely beyond your control. Try and look at the things which you know that you have done and that you can talk about, and you can begin to really, really focus on that. And you'll find, as Michelle mentioned earlier, when your mindset starts to drift into a more positive territory, things then begin to seem easier. You know, you unlock the storytelling potential, something that I talk about, that you unlock the potential that is already in there, and you're just going to coax it out, let it come out of you. And then you find that when you've done it a couple of times, the first time is obviously the big one, but when you've done it a couple of times, it becomes something, you get into a groove with it. And, you know, you then...
Very addictive.
Yeah, then you just kind of feel like I want to keep doing it as and when it's relevant to tell a story. As long as you've got something that you know is relevant and newsworthy and current, as long as you know that it's got legs to it, as what I call it's got the appeal to it, then the toolkit, refer to that, and it will help you to tell the story.
Yeah, definitely.
That's it. Yeah,
that's really. I'm really glad you said that, because before this interview, actually, I had the assumption that I can only do one press release, and maybe amazingly, if I got that published, then that would be it, and I'm not allowed to. Do you know what I mean? I had that assumption.
A lot of people.
Now you've just really spoken to that, and that's that's another amazing gift.
Yeah, that won't be the only story that you'll tell, or that you will be in a position to tell. As I mentioned earlier, when things progress or things come up that are current or newsworthy or relevant, or there's a different direction, something's happened within the company, you might be celebrating something to do with the company, whatever it happens to be. Taking on a client,
new employee.
Yeah.
I think you have to think of yourself not as a one-off documentary, but as a series.
A series of, yeah.
You know, like, do you know what I mean? Like, rather than thinking I'm a one-off Netflix special, you think, how can I be here, you know, announcing my 9th season? You know, grow with the press, because we have a client of ours that was an inventor. She created a baby-led weaning product.
She did.
She said, I want to be in the paper once. That's all I want. Just want to be in the paper once. Like 4 years down the line, she's probably been in that paper easily 10 times, with just a different retelling of how her business has developed.
Yeah.
And that's the thing.
What she's achieved.
Once a paper falls in love with your business, they will champion you. They want to know how you are getting on.
Local papers want to see local people doing well
They
and
do.
doing good. If you win an award, or if you get on TV, or if you do something a bit out of the ordinary, something a bit different, you know, something that is really, really, you know, maybe it's bucking a trend in some way. Or it could just be that you know, as we mentioned before, you're telling a story that really has a human resonance. It's a connection there. They will want to champion you because you're one of them. You're part of that local tribe. You're part of that community. So it's like a local person. And the fact of the matter is, people are curious beings. People like to know what people in their community are up to and what they're doing. And as Michelle mentioned earlier, 50% of people buy local. So it's important to have that presence within your local publication, because it's opening yourself up to literally, you know, potentially thousands of customers.
And it can be life-saving for your business. If you think about lockdown now, the businesses that have got some level of profile in their local community are the ones that residents have rushed to help to lift them up. So if you are invisible, if nobody knows your story, if you are just kind of operating under the radar and never really putting your head above the parapet, in your darkest, most difficult moments, when you most need someone to lift you up, there's going to be nobody there because they didn't know you were there to begin with. So it's about creating the safety net that isn't there once you leave the corporate world. Like if people know you and they're invested in your story. So if you think about it, you've launched your business, you've done a massive big fanfare and everyone's patted you on the back. You've taken on some new staff, that's another new highlight. You've served your thousands customer, you've announced a partnership.
You're celebrating an anniversary,
you know,
business.
You've raised money for the local food bank, you've done all these things. Then lockdown happens and your whole business collapses overnight. Now, all those goodwill, all those people who cared about how far you'd come and seen all your triumphs, want to be there to lift you back up and put you into a new position of stability and giving you that encouragement to keep, you know, going forward. They're invested
with the mindset as well.
in your story. They're invested. Whereas if you choose the path of invisibility, you are choosing to walk it alone. You will be on that path alone. So this is another reason, as part of your resilience strategy and your longevity strategy, to choose to be visible so that you are creating a safety net of your own making.
We can't vouch for that enough.
That's so amazing. I'm so lucky because I just feel that I've just actually kept you talking as much as I can just for my own benefit, because this feels like completely the most outrageous masterclass in self-empowerment, in giving myself a voice, in why am I here after all, or why am I doing what I'm doing, why do I get up every day. It's just given me so much, and it has been like a masterclass with you. And I just think you both are amazing. You are coming from love, you're coming from humanity, and I just thank you so much. And I really intend that this will be the start of a very long series with you, and I just thank you so much. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Pleasure.
Honestly,
we've really enjoyed it. There was nothing more we love to talk about than stories and storytelling. So it's a pleasure.
That's our passion. And helping people tell their stories is what we're here to help them do, and that gives us just the most immense feeling of satisfaction and pride, and seeing that light bulb going off within somebody.
It's magic.
It is magical. That's the thing that we're addicted to help them to have that feeling.
I think to summarise, I'd say live a life you'd want to write about, and then make sure you do the writing. That's the most important thing.
If there's anything you're going to take away from today's session, then please do listen to what Michelle just said, because that is really what it's all about at the end of the day.
That's just the most amazing summary. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for sharing your platform with us so generously. We really appreciate it, Maria.
Thank you.